In March of 1930, in the city of Baltimore, Maryland, a baby boy was born. His parents named him John. Now, at first glance, this is an ordinary story, a child born during the Great Depression to a family just trying to make it through tough times. But what no one could have guessed is that this little boy would grow up to change television history forever. Because John didn't just become an actor, he created one of the most iconic, eccentric and bizarre characters ever seen on TV. Someone whose love of model trains would end up exploding, literally, into iconic pop culture legend.
Loconory, 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 Loconory.
Before we begin, a quick question. Do you love running model trains, making sure they stay on time and working perfectly? Or do you like orchestrating model train wrecks and explosions, blowing everything to smithereens? Well, whichever camp you fall in, remember to like, share and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of all my future videos, including my weekly Loconory tale. So let's get back to the story and back to Baltimore, which at that time was a very tough place to raise a family. Like much of America, the city was gripped by the Great Depression. Factories were shutting down, jobs were disappearing, and families were going hungry. But John's family was different. Alan wasn't just employed, he was a physicist at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University, one of the most respected institutions in the country. While others were struggling to survive, the family lived in relative comfort. In 1932, John's younger brother Alexander was born, and the family was so happy. That same year, Alan took a position at the National Bureau of Standards. Today, it's known as the National Institute of Standards and Technology, a government organisation whose mission was, and still is, to promote American innovation and industrial competitiveness. Eventually, Alan would go on to lead that organisation. But let's get back to the 30s, because in the early to mid-1930s, life was starting to feel good for the family. Like his father, John was exceedingly bright, excelling at maths and science at school. And so when he graduated high school, it was a logical step for him to pursue this line of study. He enrolled first at Washington Jefferson College in Pennsylvania before transferring to Johns Hopkins on a maths scholarship. His future seemed clear: follow in his father's footsteps, become a scientist. But then everything changed. As part of his coursework, John was required to take a freshman English class. One assignment involved him reading a part in a play. At first, it seemed like a total waste of time, distracting him from his more important studies. But as John started reading the play, he quickly came to realise he actually liked it. In fact, he loved it. It was like something inside him just lit up when he acted. He had found his calling. John started taking drama classes and auditioning for plays around Baltimore and throwing himself into theatre. All the while, his maths assignments fell by the wayside. He got behind in his coursework and his grades slipped. And that was quickly noticed by the Dean of Johns Hopkins, G. Wilson Schaefer, who called John in for a meeting. John was terrified. He thought he was about to be expelled. What would his father say? But instead of punishment, the dean surprised John. He suggested that he apply for a drama scholarship right there at the university. And so he did. He changed his major to drama, but not before having a tough conversation with his parents. Imagine at that time abandoning the serious and secure world of maths and science to tell your parents you wanted to be an actor. But John's parents were different. They supported John, and in 1952 he graduated with a degree in drama. Now, in the early 1950s, the path for most young actors was brutal. Endless auditions, rejection after rejection, years of struggle. But John's career caught fire almost immediately. He had something rare, a sharp comedic talent, magnetic stage presence, and perfect timing, and that made him stand out. He landed roles on stage, did voiceover work, and began to appear in small parts on television and in film. Slowly, his career gained momentum. And then, in 1964, everything changed. The 1950s and 60s in America were known as the golden age of television. Families up and down the country gathered each evening around the glowing box in their living rooms in their millions, watching shows like The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Real McCoy, and The Beverly Hillbillies. John had already tasted some success on TV, So when he saw a casting call ad for a brand new sitcom about an unusual family, he went for it. He didn't know then that his life was about to take a dramatic turn. The role he originally tried out for was the family's butler. John turned up, went through his paces with his usual comedic timing and wit. But something didn't feel right. No matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't quite get into the part. Finally, he stopped mid-audition. He turned to the producers and said, "Look, this isn't working for me. I'm really sorry, guys." And the producers, they quickly agreed, and John was gutted. Now, usually that would have been the end of it, but instead, the producer said, "Look, that role might not have worked, but how about you try for this other role in the show?" John read through the script and said, "I'll do it." He auditioned and was an outstanding success. The part seemed so right for John, it was as if it had been written for him. His part in the show didn't even have a name yet. Suggestions were floated, but John rejected them all. They didn't have the weight, the charm, the magnetism he felt that the character possessed. Days later, he came back with a new name. The producers loved it. That name was Gomez Addams, and the show was The Addams Family. And the John I'm telling this story about is none other than John Astin, actor and director, and at 95 is the last surviving actor from the show. John didn't realise it at the time, but he had just landed the role that would make him a household name. The Addams Family debuted in 1964, running for 64 episodes over 2 seasons. The show was created by cartoonist Charles Addams, and it featured a bizarre yet lovable old money Gothic family. Gomez, Morticia, their daughter Wednesday, whose middle name incidentally is Friday, and son Pugsley. There was also Uncle Fester, Grandmama, Cousin It, Lurch the Butler, and Thing. No one knew how they'd made their money, only that they now had time for their truly unusual pursuits, which they considered absolutely normal. As the show was in production, John felt that something was missing. All the characters had hobbies. Morticia liked growing poisonous plants. Wednesday liked raising spiders, and Pugsley built robots. But what about Gomez? Gomez needed a hobby, something that was unique, crazy, and indulged his passion for chaos. And that's when John brought his own piece of himself into the show, because in real life, John Astin loved model trains, and his idea? Gomez wouldn't just run model trains, he'd blow them up. The producers loved the idea, but the next question was where to find the model trains and how to build the layout. Enter the Lionel Corporation, the most famous model train company in America at that time. Founded in 1900 by Joshua Lionel Cohen, Lionel had dominated the hobby for decades. After World War II, its popularity exploded. Post-war prosperity, the baby boom, and groundbreaking features like magnetration, which were magnets that grip the rails, as well as smoke effects and detailed realism, all made Lionel trains really irresistible. Their marketing was genius too. Ads in national magazines, celebrity endorsements, and a message that Lionel trains were the perfect father-son bonding activity saw every family in America either own a Lionel train or want one. By 1953, Lionel wasn't just big, it was reportedly the largest toy manufacturer in the world, with sales peaking at $35 million. The film crew used an old Lionel factory model railway display, which was perfect for modifying for the show. That together with some O-gauge track, locos and other accessories, and they were set. You'll also see the layout used the Lionel ZW Transformer, its iconic transformer popular in the 1950s and 1960s. It was one of its most revered post-war products, on the market for 18 years, from 1948 to 1966. Gomez's trademark dynamite plunger, though, that was a fake. It was certainly put to good use, deliberately crashing and blowing up trains. That was, John said, Gomez's stress relief. In old episodes of The Addams Family, you'll see Gomez running locos like the Minneapolis and St. Louis EMD GP7, also Lionel Line Steamer, and the Santa Fe Olco. In fact, Lionel provided so much equipment that the closing credits of the show included the line, "Trains by Lionel." But the layout itself, well, there were actually two of them. The production crew had to build a second copy of the layout because the first was destroyed so often. Later episodes even had to reuse explosion footage to save money. John loved every second of it. Crew members confirmed that he was really hands-on helping with the setup and running of the trains and laughing gleefully at the chaos. But here's the irony. While Gomez was blowing up trains on TV, Lionel itself was collapsing in real life, and TV was largely to blame. A new generation of children were growing up with TV shows, which meant less time for hobbies. Man had also just walked on the moon, and there was sudden interest in space and space-age toys. Model trains were suddenly out of favour. By 1969, Lionel saw sales plummet to just over $1 million, and they would never recover. The company eventually sold off its train line and the license of its name to the cereal company General Mills. In the decades that followed, Lionel changed hands twice more, eventually becoming today's Lionel LLC, a model railway retailer and importer. The Addams family may not have reversed Lionel's fortunes, but it immortalised them. Gomez's train wrecks introduced a new generation to Lionel and built a legacy of nostalgia that endures to this day. And while no official Addams Family train set was ever released, the prominent placement of Lionel trains in the show led to an enduring association between the company and the Addams Family. This has inspired countless hobbyists to piece together their own replicas of Gomez's iconic train set. Model train fan Jerry Pilachowski painstakingly recreated it. He reverse engineered the design by studying old footage and then released detailed plans. Those plans, which map out a 5x9 Lionel Super O layout, are still sold online today, often as photocopies on eBay. And they're around $5. Collectors and modelers continue to build their own Gomez-inspired train wreck setups, keeping the legacy alive. Interestingly, if this were a company today, there might have been an Addams Family train set. I wonder which company might take on that idea. By 1966, TV audiences had started tuning into another spooky TV show, The Munsters. With ratings declining, the network decided to pull the plug on the Addams Family once and for all. And when the cameras finally stopped rolling, John admitted that his deepest regret wasn't losing the fame of Gomez Addams. It was that he would never again get to blow up a model train on set. The Addams Family wasn't and isn't the only TV show or film that Lionel's trains have appeared in. Lionel Locos have appeared in Dante's Inferno in 1935 with Spencer Tracy, in the Christmas classic Holiday Affair in 1949, and on the TV show Captain Kangaroo. And most famously, they also inspired the train in the Polar Express. Lionel trains also appeared in the movie in 1991 of The Addams Family. Now, you'll know I have a black and white monochrome model railway, Brief Encounter, and as I was researching which shades of grey to use, I did a lot of study into how black and white films were made. So, the real Addams Family mansion wasn't quite as gothic as it looked. The set was actually painted bright pink. Why? Well, because when filming in black and white, that particular shade would provide better contrast on the film and on screen. So while America saw a shadowy, eerie, spooky home, the cast and crew were actually standing in a neon-coloured house of horrors. John Astin would go on to make many more films and have more TV appearances. In recent interviews, he shared how he actually auditioned for the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. He decided against pursuing the role in the end, but his adopted son, Sean, you'll know him as the Hobbit Samwise. That film was fine, but I think it needed a model railway in it. That's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Loconory tale. And remember, please do like, share and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a video from me or next week's Loconory. You take care of yourself. Until next time, bye-bye.
Loconory, 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 Loconory.
If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of all my future videos. And why not browse the shop at modelrailwayquest.com/shop. And to receive a 10% discount on everything in the shop, become a Questie. Join the Model Railway Quest membership to receive that discount and a whole bunch of perks and goodies. Details on how to join are above. I'm Dawn Quest, and this is Model Railway Quest.